Today, we're making kimchi and tofu stew, a very simple dish that is packed with flavors. When you put kimchi and tofu together from packaging, it's already a wonderful meal. So, to have to go through the effort, we must build a bit more flavor and a bit more umami to it. Let's do it. Very simple. First, we make a dashi. Today, we'll make a vegetarian version. So, some dashi kombu, we cover this water, and we just bring this to a bare simmer. While dashi steeping, let's introduce our ingredients. Today, we're using soft tofu. For this dish, I would recommend you either use silken tofu or soft tofu. The difference being silken tofu, they're not pressed at all, and soft tofu, they're just pressed gently. But I like to crumble them so they distribute around the soup. And we have some vegetarian kimchi. For me, I like to do 1:1 in terms of just ballpark. The kimchi would shrink a bit, and that tends to be the perfect ratio for the soup. This is one of the few stews in the world where flavor profile is linear, meaning making a single serving and making a stew for 1,000 people would have almost identical flavors. Unlike, for example, if you were to make an oxtail stew, one knuckle and one tail, there'd be a huge difference. And of course, we have the usual for any Korean kimchi jjigae. We have the gochujang, fermented bean paste, and the gochugaru, the chili powder. But you can use any chili powders you have. And we'll garnish the whole thing with just a bit of scallion. For this, I like to use both the green part and the white part. We mince the scallion white, and we just slice the green part thinly. They bring a bit of brightness and some wonderful colors to the dish. For this dish, honestly, if you just put everything in a pot and boil them, they'll turn out great. And if you're really short on time, you should do that. But I want to show you a few small tweaks that you could do to A, intensify the flavors a tiny bit, and B, pack it with a bit more umami. Wonderful. Scallion ready. Now, bare simmer, stove off. Kombu comes out. You can save it to make a salad with a bit of ponzu. That's always wonderful. And let's make the stew. Stove back on, medium-high heat-ish. We add a small dash of vegetable oil, or any neutral oil you have. Now, to intensify the flavors and the complexity of the kimchi, I like to add the kimchi in 2 stages. First, we squeeze out all the brine, and we cook the kimchi. Then, at the very end, we adjust by adding some of the brine back for brightness. So, you can wear gloves if you wish. You grab the kimchi and you squeeze, and they go in. Cooked kimchi, they have much deeper and much more complex flavors. But what you lose through evaporation is the brightness and the acidity. That's why we're keeping the brine. So at the very end, we could add back the brightness and the acidity. So you have a very well-balanced stew. And during the fermentation of kimchi, they've added ginger, they've added garlic, they've added the optional scallion. In essence, you're also sweating your aromatic vegetables for the soup. And you can see the steam that came out. That was the water content of the kimchi evaporating, concentrating the flavors. And once you see that the steam has stopped coming out, you know we're almost there. So we add our gochujang, Korean fermented bean paste. And this you really add to taste. For me, the optimal level, 1 proper tablespoon per person. This is something you need to cook out, so it's not like you can add at the very end to adjust. So I would be slightly generous because you can always dilute the spiciness by adding a bit more water and making this a bigger serving. Uncooked gochujang is nowhere near as palatable and complex as the cooked version. So we cook it out, just like you would with tomato puree, you know, with Italian cooking. Now, the whole room smells like a Korean restaurant. Now, gochugaru, Korean spice powder, again, to taste. This you could add at the end, so this I would be a bit more careful. If you don't have it, shichime works, any chili flakes work. You can see the steam from the gochujang evaporating now. Perfect. And this whole thing from start to finish cooks within 10 minutes. Wonderful weekday meal. Most water content has evaporated. One last optional ingredient. Again, just for a bit more complexity and umami, we add a small dash of soy sauce. You'll not notice the taste of soy sauce. It's just for that tiny bit of umami. I don't think I even need to say the disclaimer that this is not authentic. Nothing on this channel is authentic, but some of them are tasty. Perfect. Now, we add the kelp dashi. You can use regular dashi if you don't need this to be vegetarian. Just give it a mix, making sure nothing's catching. Bring this back to a boil. Now, once this is back to a boil, it's practically done. You taste, And you decide how much brine you want to add back to the soup for acidity. Keep tasting at this stage. That's done. So now we just crumble some silken tofu. If you want to make sure you don't dilute the soup too much with the liquid from the tofu, you can always microwave this for about a minute so that it releases its excess liquid. So now tofu goes in. You can use a spoon for this if you want. Tofu is by definition cooked, so you really just want it to have enough time to heat up. Perfect. And honestly, you could just grab the spoon and the pot, bring it to the table, eat it. Let's plate one. Just to mimic Korean restaurants, we have a very, very hot cast iron pot, and it's gonna smoke a bit. How beautiful is that though, huh? Perfect. Of course, now would be a wonderful time to crack an egg on top if you fancy one, and very generous amount of scallion, both white and green. Beautiful. Bowl of rice with this. What a wonderful meal. This is kimchi and tofu stew. I really hope you enjoy.